welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So I guess starting out, where were you born and raised?
I was actually born and raised in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, born and raised there. And then in 2016, I moved out to wonderful Las Vegas.
How was it growing up in Ohio?
Mm, I will not have the best things to say. Um, to me, Ohio is just very depressing. It's raining all the time. It's gloomy. There's just not much to do, not much excitement. All they have is like the Ohio State Buckeyes. So that's like all that there is to do pretty much is go to a Ohio State game or, something like that. So yeah, I was very excited to get to the West Coast and get to some excitement and some sunshine and not rain every day.
Mhm. Did you do any sports growing up?
I did growing up. I was a cheerleader. I did many different types of dance, and I did tennis.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I did softball, but very briefly because I was horrible at it. But yeah, I was pretty good at tennis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's Vegas? I'm assuming you love Vegas.
Oh, I love this city. I'm very much so in love with this city, even though right now, like we've got it's about 102 degrees outside right now, and we've got some humidity, and usually we're dry, so
Hmm.
it's like extra hot today, but this city is amazing. Like there's so much diversity, the energy flowing is amazing, so much to do. I'm a foodie, so there's so much to eat. So many different
Yeah.
restaurants that are always coming up. So yeah, this is the perfect place for me.
How did you get involved in the adult entertainment industry?
Well, gosh, I when I actually the first time that I got involved in adult entertainment, it was actually against my will. Like I was in an abusive relationship
Hmm.
and he pretty much forced me to be a dancer. He also wanted me to be an escort as well. But that was my first taste of it, and I didn't like it. Like I didn't like it until it became my decision. But when I was in that relationship, that's how I was introduced to it. Was I was actually kind of forced to do it.
How long did you
Yeah.
do stripping for and the escort?
Uh, that first time, that first initial time was only actually for a few months because I was actually able to leave that abusive relationship, thank goodness, and start fresh. That's when I got into uh, being more of a sex expert, and I got into sex education, that side of it. But yeah, that was how I got into it. Wasn't the best way to get into it.
So what made you decide for yourself to continue doing it?
um, well, kind of what I won't make it a long story. But well, I for about 7 years, I was in sex education and I was a sex expert. So I was more so teaching couples and singles like just how to have better sex. I went and got a certification and all of that for it. So I like just wasn't doing it because I thought I was good at sex or something. I actually like studied and went and did certifications for it and all of that. So I did that for some years. Um, and then I went and got a breast enhancement. And then then I kind of just got tired of, I got to a point where I was tired of teaching. Like I just, when you're in a career, then just after you just hit a point where you're just like, you know what, I'm tired of doing this and I want to look to do something else. I have a really, really good friend that's amazing at pole, and she has pole studios. And I was teaching like pole 101, so I knew a little bit about pole. Uh, so I taught classes there. And then after I got my breast enhancement, and then I got sick of teaching, then I was like, you know what? I think I might go try dancing again. Like I've got these enhancements, I've got these new pole skills. Like, let me see what I can go make happen. And then the rest is pretty much history from there. Then I just started dabbling in everything. I know I sent you like have a long list of things that I've done in adult entertainment, but yeah, that's like just what kind of got it started, and I loved it. Like I'm getting the best exercise ever because pole is amazing exercise. Like I love to dance, I love music. I'm getting paid to have fun. And it was just like, okay, this just makes sense. Why don't I do this? Like I'm making good money. Might as well just go ahead and be a dancer. So then I decided to be a dancer for a bit. And I was also during that time a phone sex operator. I started those around the same time.
Oh, okay. How was that for you?
Mhm. So interesting. Um, it was very eye-opening to to just see all of the different fetishes out there and see what consumers will really pay for. Because you would think like there's Pornhub, there's the internet, there's all of this stuff. Like, why do you want to call somebody on the phone just to talk to them? But they do. Like they actually want to. And as surprising as that is, like that was just it was very eye-opening. It was easy, fun money, sometimes disturbing, depending on the fetish, having to play along, like you're actually into what they're talking about and all of that when really you're totally grossed out. But yeah, it was very interesting to learn about all the different fetishes.
Yeah. How long would a typical phone call last?
um, I've had them last from probably 4 or 5 minutes to a really good call would be like an hour or a little over an hour. Those would be like the good money makers right there. But they would also be exhausting. Like they're good money makers, but then they could be pretty exhausting.
Yeah. So what's the
Yeah.
most disturbing call you've had that you remember?
Well, uh, the the agency that I worked for was a no limits agency. So I will say that there's some things that were illegal that were disturbing, but I won't, cloud up your podcast with illegalness. But one of the non-illegal, most disturbing was it was a man, and he was a regular. All of the girls knew exactly who he was and what he wanted, and he wanted you to be 300, 350 pounds and covered in hair. And he wanted you to poop and pee. Like he was into like really, he wanted you to like describe it. Of course, we're not doing that on the phone, but like he wanted you to describe it. And he liked for it to be mother and daughter. So both
Oh,
mom and daughter, 300 pounds or plus, got to be hairy. We had to be hairy all over, hairy legs, hairy arms, hairy everything. So that was different. But he was a regular, and we all knew who he was. And it was like, oh, we got to do this one.
You got me interested in the illegal part of it. Do you want to share one of those stories or no, not really? Do you feel comfortable?
Um, I mean, like I said, it was a no limit agency, so they could actually come on and discuss their fantasies about minors.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So, we would go along with that, and that's kind of like a interesting. I know we don't have like time to delve into all of that and all, but like one of my managers, she like had a viewpoint of, okay, well, if they're talking about it and getting that release with us, then perhaps that's preventing them from doing it elsewhere. But then is it doing it with us building the desire? So it's
Yeah,
kind of
I can see
like you
it
can
both
see both
ways.
sides of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, yeah. Luckily we didn't get too many of those. I didn't get too many of those, but yeah, if they came through, we were a no limit. So we had to explore that with them, which could be difficult because I'm a mother too. So, you know,
yeah,
those calls were a bit difficult.
right. So,
Yeah.
you got into porn eventually, I guess?
Yes. Yes. After I moved to Vegas, one of the first jobs that I got, uh, well, gigs, I don't know if I'm going to call it a job, was as a cam girl. So I started webcam modeling for a studio. They have like these really cool studio setups in Vegas where, like, if you wanted to do webcamming and not do it at home, you could go into their place. So I did that there. And then me getting comfortable with that is kind of what led me into actually doing porn. I didn't do like a whole lot of it. Um, I did maybe I want to give myself maybe seven things that I did with like an actual male. But yeah, that was pretty interesting and fun as well. But yeah, and that was just through it was back when they still had like an adult section on Craigslist and all that. Uh, and that's where I found this gentleman that was looking for models to shoot with. And so I just ended up doing a bunch of different scenes and shoots with him.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
why did you not do that for so long? What was the reason for that?
Um, because I wasn't as comfortable being out there as far as a porn star, quote unquote. I use that term loosely, amateur porn star. I wasn't as comfortable with that being out in the public, like as I would be right now. Like right now, I really wouldn't care. But when I was doing it then, like I wanted to do it, but then I was like, oh, but don't do it a whole lot because then everybody's gonna see you everywhere, and everybody's gonna be like, oh, your mom's a porn star. I saw your mom's cooch, and stuff like that. So yes, that's why I didn't do it like a whole lot, and then I actually like stepped behind the camera.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen any crazy things happen on porn sets, or was everybody pretty professional?
Nope, everyone was really professional. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, of course, there's drinks, drugs, but that like began to be commonplace. So it was like nothing that would be like, oh my, I can't believe this is happening. It
Yeah,
just was just so normal that you're just like, okay, yeah, that's, normal. But no, I never, fortunately, I was fortunate enough to always have good experiences and work with professional people, um, and not witness anything. too bad. So I think I was very lucky in that regards because I've heard some horror stories. I think I've
Yeah.
been very lucky considering.
Yeah. When you were
Yeah.
escorting, how was that for you? Like,
That was um fun fun as well. I was um again, like I said, I was very fortunate, like to have done all of the different things that I've done, especially with the escorting. I was very fortunate to have always had nice customers, nice clients, like clients that didn't want to be abusive. I've had some that were like, maybe a little bit weird, but they were always like respectful. They weren't trying to hurt me. They weren't, trying to rob me or like nothing malicious like that. So I would say I had a really good time. It was, nerve-wracking because you always want to make sure that you're safe and try to do your due diligence. So there was always like that worry in your head, but I say overall, I just had a really great time with it. Things from just going to a dinner date to going to Mexico to just having a romp because that's what was needed for the day. And I feel like some of my clients, I really felt like, there are some, well, people in general, but there are some men that like just aren't great with women. They're not great with communicating with women. They're not great with flirting. They don't necessarily, they're not confident enough, And I would get a lot of those types of clients. And like it would just, for me, it would be nice to give them that attention, like that they were lacking and that they want in their life. Even if, yeah, they are paying for it, it was still nice to just give them that attention that that they crave, but they
yeah,
don't necessarily know how to get it on their own. So they have to get it this way. Uh, but then you just have the guys that just want to be sleazy and cheat on their wives.
so as soon as you meet, no dates or nothing, just let's get down to business. And have you ever had any
um,
issues, I guess, with men complaining or wanting more so for you to kind of be like a therapist, more so than anything
um,
sometimes? Or no, not necessarily.
I did, and I only really one comes to mind, uh, where it did get um very intertwined, and he did want me to be more like a therapist, and lots of lots of talking and lots of going way outside of the boundaries of what an escort is. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't a part of my job description. Um, but of course, I don't have problems listening to people, but there's only so much that I can do. Yeah, and like sometimes they would get too attached. I've had those instances as well. Like if they would see me regularly, then they would start to like actually get attached to me.
Like, were they a stalker, basically, or they didn't get to that
Um,
point where it got
no,
dangerous?
no, didn't get to that point, luckily. And of course, I always, kept my information private and didn't what I needed to do to keep myself safe. But it would like just go into the I love you and I want to be with you and all of that. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like you just love the little fantasy life, the fantasy world, that I provided you, which is what you desired, but like you're not in love with me.
So
Yeah.
you was a dominatrix also.
Yes. Yes.
How did you
Yes.
get started with
Dem-
that?
um, how did I? I don't even know how did I get started into it. Oh my. I know I had well, ended up pretty much being a client of mine. I would say he's really what got me into it. It was a client of mine that pretty much liked to just dress me up, and put me in those outfits and bought me all of those sexy spiky heels and the whips and all of that stuff. And then he like gave me the idea of like, hey, why don't you, try doing this? And that part of being a dominatrix is there's no sex involved. Like when you're a professional dominatrix, you don't have sex with your client. Like if you have sex with them, then you're just an escort, also dressed up as a dominatrix. But if you're just dominatrix, then you're not having sex with them. So, and I was actually married at the time that I was a dominatrix, so that like worked. So I was like, okay, I could, do something in the sex industry, make good money, easy money, and also not, be cheating. So yeah, so he got me into that, got me into the whips and the paddles and all of that. I had my limits with uh with what I would do. Because some people, are very extreme with the BDSM and all of that. But yeah, it was actually one of my clients that like kind of pushed me into that direction, and then I just took off with it and had a good old time. It was,
When you first started it, were you nervous? Did you feel uncomfortable, or was it just
um,
easy to you?
I think because this was after I was a sex expert, so I had gotten to be so comfortable just in that industry, in that field, being in sex clubs and all of that. So like I was just so comfortable with it already that I wasn't really too nervous. Yeah. And a lot, my main fetishes dominating that I would do would be more like those with the foot fetish or want me to step on them or just want to come massage my feet, which is like, oh, you want to pay me hundreds of dollars to give me a massage? Yes. Like, of course, I'll do that. Yes, I will do that. Um, uh, Paddling, spanking, um, some mommy play, but like nothing where we got into like scat play or medical play or anything with blood. That I didn't get that serious with it.
Yeah.
I
What
kept
made you
it
stop?
I kept it mild. Um, moving moving to Vegas, and then I just was like, okay, I'm kind of done with that. Like once I moved to Vegas, and then once I got to Vegas, I kind of felt like I was out of my league. Like when I was in Columbus, Ohio, it's pretty hot stuff. But you go to Las Vegas where there are thousands of gorgeous women, that are offering the services. And I was just like, okay, I'll look into doing something else now.
So, out of everything that you've done in the industry, what are some of like the craziest stories or anything that you've dealt with?
Probably one of the most unfortunate was being a camera girl when I did get behind the scenes, behind the camera for the porn scenes. And we would have to be like really up close with the camera, up in, like getting those shots showing the penetration and all of that. Uh, so I don't want to gross out your listeners too much, but I had to like be up in there, like really up in someone's cooch while she's getting penetrated, and she started her cycle. So
Man,
that was very unfortunate because I'm under them. So then it gets onto the camera. Luckily, not onto me. I would have died. Um, so that was I know, very gross, but probably a bit crazy. Um, I've had a customer, a client. I shouldn't call them customers. That sounds weird. But I've had a client that wanted me to and it's kind of a common fetish, kind of, but he wanted me to put him in a diaper and breastfeed him. So that was, but there are lots of people that are into the baby play and all of that. So yeah,
Say that's a
but
common
I was like,
fetish.
well, I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's as common as a foot fetish, but quite a few people, quite a few men enjoy um, being done that way, treated like a baby. Um,
So can you walk me through
and
that whole fetish, I guess? Can you kind of paint the picture for me? Do they come in, you put a diaper on them? Do you lay them, you put them to sleep? Do you feed them? Like, how does this, like, paint the
it,
picture for me
yeah,
so I can see it?
it can it can all depend on how, because beforehand we always discuss like what we want to do during the session, so that I make sure that I meet their needs. Um, but it just depends. But usually, they would come in, they would have to shower. Then once they showered, then I would have like a big adult diaper that I would put on them, a bib, sometimes like a little head bonnet thing, like a little baby. I would have a bottle for them, but most of the time they would want me to like hold them, as much as I could, and they would want a nurse, or they would just want me to, oh, mommy loves you, you're a sweet baby, while I put powder on them or put lotion on them, just really like talking the baby talk, mommy loves you, you're my sweet little baby, and all of that. Um, and yeah, that that would be it. I would feed them. Sometimes they would come with baby food that they like. So I would feed them the baby food. Um, yeah, but it was um, those were pretty lightweight, but they were pretty weird and crazy. Just to be diapering a grown man. That's
Yeah, it's different for
two,
me.
three times.
Yeah, I never heard of it. So with that being said, I do have a question that came into my mind when you were kind of telling, like walking me through how that works. Do some of them urinate or defecate on themselves and would want to be changed, or it never got that
No, because that was a
serious, I
part
guess?
of my rules. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like because yeah, with all of any type of like arrangement, meeting, whatever. You guys always have like these are my no's, these are my yeses, and yeah, yeah, pee and poop and changing and all of that. Like I would pretend, like I say, oh, does the baby need to change, and all of that, and but it was a part of my rules that I wasn't doing that for real, no, because then the session would be over. Yeah, yeah, I had my hard nose on some things.
How can men be better intimate partners? Like, what do they need to do to be better romantically and sexually?
Um, what do men need to do?
Yeah, or what can they do? You have
Um,
any advice for us on that?
I what I feel is very important is paying attention to your woman and her mind. Like because if you're in a woman's mind and she feels safe and cared for, the sex is going to be amazing. She's going to be much more receptive to you. She's going to open up to you much more, and the sex is just going to be more fiery because I know as a woman that the safer and more loved and appreciated that we feel, the freakier that we get. So, um, so To enhance the lovemaking, I would say for men, you can be a better lover by first even just being a better man to her and helping her to feel loved and safe and getting into her mind. Because once you're in her mind, then then it's really gravy from there. Um, and also paying attention to her and her body responses and her moans, or if you see she's arching her back more when you're doing certain things, or she's moaning more, like take those cues in and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, or I do more of this. Or if you try a move and you notice that she doesn't do too much, then okay, obviously she doesn't like that. And then also talking to her as well, asking her, like, does that feel good? Do you like that? Is there something you would like to try in bed? Is there something you would like for me to do? Uh, and opening up that conversation is really good too.
That's great advice. I appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
on to the show and chatting with me. I hope you have a great
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yep, it was. All right, take care.
All right. Bye.
All right.